Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to AVX Live. I'm Joe Gilderson, President of Corporate Audio Visual Services, and I'm very happy to be back here today, episode 104. The last couple of weeks, I've actually been in different places. First 2 weeks ago, I was over at the CNA Digital offices in White Plains, up in their beautiful space. And those guys, we had some fun doing a recording for a podcast they have coming up on marketing. And then last week, I was in the Corporate AV Midtown Manhattan office and with my colleagues Lou Ramirez and Chris Barrera. And, we had a good time there too. I wanted to introduce them to a number of different people. But today I'm back in my regular space with my regular lighting, because last week I was told that we looked a little bit like the Blue Man Group. And so I needed to get back to my original lighting here. So I'm back and happy to be here. But listen, let me just remind everybody how you can find us. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube every Wednesday, 1 p.m. While you're there, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Anytime, just drop a comment so you can be a part of the show. That's really where all the fun stuff is and where I get most of my material. And if you do miss anything, you can go back and watch any of the other 103 episodes on the YouTube channel. And then afterwards, usually Alexa's going to put together some little shark bites, courtesy the language, of course, courtesy of my friend Andrew Castellano. But that is what we got and how you can find us. Today we have a longtime friend of the show and an industry expert, and we're going to be discussing really specifically education in the audiovisual industry. So let me tell you a little bit about my friend Omar Colom. Omar, like I said, is a friend, and he has shared his knowledge and expertise over really the last 3 years of Pirate University, as he often does with his over 3,000 members of his AV Educate community. He's covered the production software MIDI in August, which was actually the session that generated the most views out of any of our stream classes. He's also had a separate session called How to Excel as a Freelancer. He's, done training on vMix software, as well as Zoom for virtual productions. So if you haven't already checked out AV Educate, I highly recommend looking at their Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, their website. We'll have that address for you later. But Omar is also the Director of Education at Evolve Technology, which is based in Orlando, Florida. And Evolve is one of the country's best video equipment rental and sales organizations, and is very much a leader in video education. And Omar himself is an accomplished video engineer, holds over 24 manufacturer certifications, is a U.S. combat veteran, and of course, a proud father. So please welcome to the stage my friend Omar Colom.
Hey, Joe.
Omar, what's going on, man?
It's good. It's good. I love the intro, by the way. That was awesome. I think I'm good. You said all the good stuff. I don't need to talk anymore.
First of all, no one believes that, because we know how you can talk. So, I mean, that MIDI session alone, it's incredible.
It was awesome. And you know what? I'll tell you, I don't know if I told you this. So after that session, I actually got reached out by the owner of MIDI, and he goes, "Hey, I saw your session. Everything was really good. There was just one section on the audio, though, you didn't describe properly." And he gave me a rundown. And I was like, that's fair, man. The fact that you watched it and everything else was good, though, I'm okay with that. If I got the audio wrong, which I'm not the best at anyways, clearly from today's example, if I got the audio wrong on one section of the whole thing, I'm okay with that.
It's pretty amazing. Well, it's funny because we chose, that software and that topic, right? Because, MIDI kind of came out of nowhere pretty quick. 100%. And everybody had been using one software, and maybe they had a few others, but one really dominated the kind of live show world, in corporate side anyways, not the theater world. And then MIDI came out, and I gotta tell you, most of the engineers I know didn't know how to use it.
Yep.
So it was like perfect timing. And I even saw, did you have someone post about how they watched the video and actually helped them?
So I didn't. Okay. So this is a cool story. And this is probably like last month, maybe, or sometime last month. Caleb Jarvis posted on social media about he was in a situation where he was hired to do one thing, and then the job grew like it always does last minute because the clients had been asking. He was like, figure it out. Apparently during a lunch break, he went and watched the hour-long video and became like the expert on site, more so than the guys that owned it. And he was like, no, you do it this way and you do this and that. So like from watching that 1 hour video, he nailed it on job site, which I was really cool to like, thanks for sharing this. I'm so excited about this. You know, we reached out and everything. Like, hey man, this is so cool. You know, I'm really glad you're doing your thing and you're moving up there, and that video was so helpful for you and that you became like the expert overnight, you know? So it was really cool to see that and to just to know that, you know, the way I talked about it and described it and ran through it was enough for somebody to go from like, hey, I have an idea about playback, but I don't know this software, to, hey, I know this software and the guys that have been running it, I kind of know better than you because I watched this video, right? Like that was like, yeah, that's right. So it's a little bit of an ego booster for sure.
Well, I mean, but that's the whole purpose. The whole purpose, I know from, you know, why we do Pirate University is so that people can get work, right? And here it is, this guy's doing one thing and now he's casting another role, and I'm sure his rate went up. So you're welcome. But it's pretty cool though.
It's awesome. I love it.
Now, you know, I want to put our focus of today's conversation really on education. And I know that education is certainly something that you're very passionate about.
Yep.
So like what drove that? What made education kind of be your focal point?
Yeah. So, you know, like a lot of the people that are out there right now, I started off as a stagehand, right? I have, you know, my father who owns a company called Media Stage in South Florida. He's co-owner of the company. He got me in the industry. I grew up in it. And so I have a leg up as far as education experience goes. But what really ended up happening is when I left that to go into my own, to be my own contractor, my own independent person, there was a lack of information, at least when I started this. Now, post-pandemic, I mean, you can go online and find really YouTube University is blown up, but there wasn't any of that before. And when I was a stagehand, there was always conversations of, I want to do more. I want to learn more. I want to get more experience. Right. And, you know, before pandemic, I want to say at least it was either Infocom or that was it. And even Infocom, which is still a great resource. And I was CTS certified for a while. It's very install specific. So yes, it teaches you a lot of good things that you could use and learn all the time, but it's not the end all for what we do, at least in corporate AV, right? It's a little bit of a different workflow. There's some things that didn't translate over very well because we just don't do that here. There was no corporate AV training. And then there's audio, it's a plethora, it's everywhere. But again, even on the audio side, audio is focused in schools on the recordings, on the posts or the pre-stuff, never the live events where, hey, I have the one opportunity to get this right or else it's gone and there is no going back because the moment's passed, right? There's a difference of that. And hanging out with freelancers and doing this, you know, I had the idea of, well, why don't we do it ourselves? We are actively pursuing this. We're actively talking about it. We're actively doing things. And I just kind of went down this rabbit hole of, here's what I know. Anybody else interested in sharing that? And at the beginning, it was a double-edged sword. At the beginning, there was people who shared and there's people who were like, oh, I don't want to share because you're going to take my job. And that mentality, thankfully, has changed a lot over the years. Like, hey, if you're that worried about that scenario, maybe you're not keeping up with the things going on because there's always more to learn, right? But the flip side to that is the guys that did learn, I was glued. I was like, okay, yeah. What's going on? I want to know this. How do you do this? And then what I've learned now, fast forward 5 years what's been interesting to learn is that even when you get to that top tier, right? Let's say you're the V1 and you're kicking ass and you're doing everything you got to do in the industry. What ends up happening is, and I don't want to say it's lonely at the top, but what ends up happening is I don't get to see and work with other people anymore. So I fall into this very easy trap of, these are my comfort zones. This is what I know. This is what I know how to do, right? So unless I go and pay for a class at that point, I stop learning new things and I stop seeing that ability from other people. And so the classes have really been cool for me because I get to see guys who are very experienced come in just so they can see how somebody else does something. And then you see that light bulb. Oh man, you know what? I like the way he does that, or I like the way they did that, or that's a better workflow than mine. Let me update the way I do things, right? Because you lose that after a while because you are the go-to. So everybody's coming to you for information. Everybody's going to you for that workflow. And it's gone. So the education on that portion is kind of what's been driving me still to this day. It started off as, how do I learn more? How do I get that mentorship, that leadership from the community? And how do I work with my fellow colleagues and coworkers to really just learn more? And then it's evolved into this kind of, man, I see these pain points that everybody's having in the industry of wanting to learn more and move forward. And there's no avenue for that. Well, let's create those. And then, there's always these hurdles you have to go. I got ideas for days. You want to have a conversation, I can talk about ideas all day long. I'll come out, off the gate. But the reality is every time we found a hurdle, we tried to find a solution. And a lot of them are universal for all departments, audio, video, lighting in our industry. And what I've been doing on the back end is really just gathering information and gathering data so that when people come to me, essentially, I have a solution for them for those situations. So like trainers, gear, facilities, like those are things we've worked on with partnerships and gotten deals with. And we've worked on as far as getting people in the industry, like we did for AV Tech Talks, essentially in the real world now, especially in Orlando right now, and a little bit in Chicago and DC. And some of the rest, we've done some of the smaller stuff. We've been really outreaching more and talking to the community and saying like, hey, how do we work together more to bring this to more people? Because we're not here to, I'm not here to make $1 million off of this. I'm here to give back to the community. Is what I love doing. Yes, I'm making a profit to cover expenses for my team, and my team is doing a lot. If you guys see on social media, right? We're doing a lot to give back to you guys, but those things are with good intentions to give back and to grow. And the other thing too is like there's a lot of guys and gals who do want to give back and who do have the knowledge to share, and they want to have that experience of doing it. And what I recommend to anybody, especially like myself, and again, I didn't learn this until I started doing it more and more. I learned just as much from teaching people as I do from teaching the class, because I get those questions, right? like when we did for the MIDI class, right? We had that section of pausing, and we talked about like at the very end, we talked real quick about, a circle is a circle is a circle. That might not have been a conversation if it wasn't asked, because it's really not something you think about, right? Like here's how I run a program, here's how to do it, here's how to hit buttons and it goes, right? Oh, well, what about, how do I know if it's something stretched or not? Oh, well, the way you do that is with circles, right? A circle is always a circle. If it's stretched out this way or this way, it's been stretched out. That's not accurate. That's a way to tell real quick on the fly. Those questions really cause you to think deeper about things and cause you to reevaluate stuff. And then the other part too is there's a lot of, I don't want to say complicated math, but there's a lot of math for what we do, right? On the pre-pro side, there's a lot of that. And to see how people, I don't want to say struggle, but they're missing that one key is like, hey, I get this section. The in-between to get there, I'm not understanding. And for me to sit down and really figure out, hey, what is that missing piece? What is that key to like unlock that last piece that you need so that we can get you from here to here effectively? And that for me is really cool because it reinforces what I know, and it provides me a way to think more intuitively, right, of what we're explaining, what we're doing. And like one thing we do here at Evolve a lot for our classes is every class we do after the day after, we reevaluate our materials and we update based off of the students' feedback. So you took a class a year ago, you come back, that class is going to be not totally different, but there's going to be a lot more added materials. So you can learn more things because of that class and the class after that and class after. Yeah. So, a great example for that is camera shader class, for example, we do here. Camera shader class, we talk a lot about RRE. We don't talk about false color too much. I explain what false color is, how to use it, what it looks like. I can't teach you because I don't own all the gear for it. And the reason I don't own the gear is because I don't have all the flavors of false color. False color is a very powerful tool. There's just a lot of versions of it. But what I do teach in the class is IRE and how to read IRE and understand IRE. And if you can get to that concept, you can learn false color. It really becomes like picking your flavor outside of my classroom of what you want to learn within that range of false color for that brand. But once you learn how IRE works and what that represents and means based off of the class, then false color becomes an easy thing to understand. We just don't show it to you here because I don't have all the materials. And if I did, it'd be product specific, which is something we try to avoid always. The classes that I teach in general are not product specific, or at least I try not to make them as product specific as possible. Unless it's a certification, then by all means it's product specific. But if it's a class for a particular field of skill sets, right, we try to make it as universal as possible for our students so that you guys start understanding and connecting the dots that a switcher is not a switcher across the board, but the fundamentals across the board, the foundational knowledge you need, we're going to provide you that so that when you go from switcher A to switcher B to switcher C, you understand what it can and can't do very quickly because you have a good foundation. The idea is we leave you with a stronger foundation coming out. And that for me is, that's like, that just drives me to like really push and do these things. Cause then when I go on job site, I'm also thinking about, okay, I'm doing this show. I'm doing it this way. Oh man, you know what? I don't talk about this in my class. Man, make a note. Talk about this in my class.
Make some notes.
Yeah, make some notes and talk about it because it's like I want to make sure people are using the same knowledge that I have, the same skill sets. And I know I have an advantage. I'm dyslexic. No one knows that. So if you guys ever see my writing, it's all messed up. There you go. That's why. But I have an advantage from that, right? And the advantage is that I see things spatially. So my brain is always looking like a cat format. And that gives me a different way of viewing things. And it makes it very easy for me to translate worded information to visual information for my students because I can see, hey, I'm talking about 1920 by 1080. It's 16 by 9. You divide that number, you get this numbers, right? Which is 1.7778. It's like you see them get lost. You're like, hey, you know what? Let me draw this box for you. Here's where this number goes. Here's where this number goes. Let me put a little divide symbol there. Like I can draw it out because in my brain, when I talk about it, I'm seeing it visually already. So it's just going, okay, let's go to the whiteboard here and draw it out for you. And then usually that helps that clicking factor, right? And again, that's like a joy thing. Like, oh, he got it. Sweet. Now let's go to the next step. So yeah, sorry. Long-winded to your question there.
Well, no, but I think you make a very good point about, I mean, I've been in this world for 19 years at this point, and is very noticeable. I came from entirely different fields of work. Yeah. And it was very noticeable how people learn a certain way in this kind of world. And now, first of all, most people they're either visual or like, I mean, we have people that can do phenomenal, like voice, different voice things because they just process everything audio wise. So they can do impressions and impersonations of everyone. You're like, how do you do that? But they process everything through sound. Others, like it, just like you're saying with the spatial and the visuals. And I've noticed that most of the people in our world have to get their hands on something to actually learn it. There's not too many that read. I know, you read the manual, but it's really so you can hit the button, right? Or so that you could, then the understanding comes. Whereas I don't actually learn like that. I learn in a slightly different way, but it was really noticeable. And when I first started, of course, there was just nobody that taught anything like, for like the reasons you said. Well, I don't want to teach that person. I'm going to lose my gig, like, why would I do that? And that was certainly the mindset for a while. And I used to have other owners of companies say, well, why would you want to teach somebody that? They're just going to leave your company and take it to the next company. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, but aren't they going to do a better job for the work they do with us? They're like, well, yeah, but they're just going to leave you. I'm like, no, I think you're missing the point. But these were the thoughts, right, that existed previously. And, you bring up Infocom, which is a phenomenal organization, and the trade show, honestly, most of the new equipment we get is because we found it at Infocom.
Exactly.
And I remember being in one educational class. It was definitely on a switcher. And it was right at the time that HDMI was just becoming the main connection. And I swear it was the Barco. I forget which manufacturer it was, but they mentioned something about, oh yeah, and it was just totally in passing too. Yeah, well, if you don't, hit the HDCP button, then it's just not going to work. And they like skipped right over, and I'm like, hold on, can we go back? Can we go back to that? You just mentioned a really important thing, and I don't think anybody here even knows what you said. But it wasn't practical. It wasn't hands-on. Right. It was signal flow. It was, here's how you're going to install something, because it is most of the training at certainly at Infocom.
And there's, to add to that,
but it wasn't hands-on enough.
Right. And there's an element to this that I think some people forget about or maybe don't even think about. But, going to the classroom, right? Or let's start from the basic, right? Like if you want consistent training and education at a low cost, read a book. And I'm not saying the book's going to give you all the answers, and it's going to give you a lot of things you may not need to know about, but it's going to unlock things in your brain so that when you get to the classes, you have this foundational like understanding or awareness that you wouldn't have without that book, right? Because this is the faster way to learn other than through experience. Then, obviously the next step is or read the manual as well, right? So RTFM, right? Read the manual. I won't say the acronym, but RTFM. Yeah. Read the manual. And again,
it's a clean show. You got to it's a clean show.
Right. Yeah. No, RTFM. That's it. If you guys know it, put in the comments. If not, we're not saying it here. So, read the manual. And again, this isn't to say, hey, you should read this and be able to run this thing tomorrow. No, this is to say, I know what this box can do, right? And now I have an understanding, right? I've unlocked what the abilities are of this box. I've also hopefully read the notes or the disclaimer saying, hey, if you do this, this won't work, right? And those are some of the keys you get from the manual, or you get those in the real world when you've messed up, which is not the time to do that, right? That's another scenario. No. And then the last thing is when you go to a class, right? Yes, we're trying to get you at an even keel, right? So I don't know student A from student C. All I know is that you're here to do this class, and I need to make sure that you guys leave all with the same knowledge. So I don't know whose skill sets what, how many years you've been doing this, or how long you've been here, or how intelligent you are in general. Or like you were saying earlier, Joe, I don't know what you're crossing over from to come to this industry. Right. And I want to make sure I can connect those dots from what you were doing, that you have skills on already, and show them where they can fall into here. And that's where the class comes into play. Now, again, that's all theoretical knowledge, right? So this is one avenue of a triangle. And then you have the other, which is the practical knowledge, which if you take any of our classes with any of my team, we always do these mock drills. And they're not meant to give you all the experience, but more to say, hey, this is the closest I can get you to the hot seat. And if you're struggling here, great. Do it here, because if you struggle in the real world, you're off that show, right? So, and
you don't usually get another chance. Let's
right.
be
You don't get another not with that company, at least, right?
No, with that company.
Faking enough, and then you get the word gets around, then you're done. Right. But that company, you're done already. So like that's a lot of money down the road for you guys. It's a whole thing. So I always try to tell people, gain the theoretical knowledge, and it gives you a lot of background knowledge so that you can troubleshoot very well. If you can get good at troubleshooting, which is knowing a lot of things, you're golden. That's the main thing of our industry, right? We are being hired to solve problems. The more you know, the more you can solve. But again, taking classes, reading books, reading manuals, that's theoretical knowledge. Until you apply that knowledge, that's the experience. And there needs to be this convergence of that, right? I need to have the theoretical knowledge, the foundation, and the experience to get to that point of what I need. That's very, very important. And there's a synergy to that. And then once you get past those roads, then it gets really interesting, because then it becomes, well, let's say I've been doing, the argument is always, I've been doing Barco for 10 years. I'm not certified. I don't need that. Like that's maybe, but you don't know what you don't know. One. And two, at that point, the certification becomes more for you than it does for your clients. It becomes more to prove to yourself that I do know the system well enough to get certified. I actually do know this system, versus, well, I have a lot of clients that hire me. Doesn't mean you're doing the right job, but that paper now says that you are doing the right job and you do know the box really well, right? Versus, I know the box. I failed the test. Well, you're doing good enough for your clients, but you don't know the box as well as you thought you did, right? That's what that paper comes into play. And then the reverse side, the guy that has no experience takes the class and now like, I passed the test, I know the box. Like, yeah, you know the box. You know how to push a GUI system. You still don't know signal flow. You still don't have the experience. You still don't know when to properly do things. You're not quick at it. You need to gain experience. So there's a synergy that happens, and then there's a crossroads that happens after that. And after that is where, like I said, it gets fun, because then it really gets interesting to proceed and push forward. Because again, our classes are good at teaching you specifics. And unfortunately, it has to be like that in order to get it across, right? Because I only have a day or 3 days to teach you. Can't teach you everything in that amount of time, but I can teach you specifically this product or this workflow. And I think what we forget sometimes, right, is like these classes are meant for all training levels. The benefits change where you are in the industry, and the benefits are always outweigh anything else you do. And I just feel like there's a lot of sometimes complaints about some things like that, and it's like this. You're not looking at it as a whole picture, or you've gone the route which everybody tells you not to get to that route, right? You've gone the route where you think you know everything already, and you're gonna get left behind.
Yeah, no, you make a good point. Look, you got a fan club here. I got a comment that says you can never stop learning. Technology is always changing.
Yes.
And congrats on your new Barco certification. I mean, everybody's following you.
Yeah, I got the Barco projector UDX certification recently. We're working with Barco to get certified Barco projection training here. So that is phase 1 of 2 right now. So there will be another one of those soon, and then we can certify you guys in Barco projectors or Panasonic projectors. That's kind of our goal with that.
Hey, I got one more other comment here. I think this is related to MIDI, that we should get the audio addendum and put it on there so we can update it.
There you go.
But, I do have a question about Evolve Academy.
Shoot.
And I really think that Evolve does an amazing job and has really been ahead of the kind of curve on all of the education, especially from a wholesaler. Like there's technically I don't want to say no skin in the game, but it's a really interesting model. And so I guess I'm curious about that, like how you handle education at Evolve, and why is it that Evolve even offers such a great service? I mean, so it's unusual.
It is very unusual. So we have a great team here, right? If you guys just saw our recent lineup, we have Kevin Ring, we have George Ray, we have Bob Murdoch here, we have Eli, myself, Joaquin Martinez, right? So if you guys look all the way to the right, or to my side is myself here, right? So I train a lot of the classes here: camera operator, camera switcher, general LED class, camera shader class, right? Then you have Eli Lowenthal, who's been here for 10 years. He's probably has the most knowledge out of all of us. He's the head of the support team. The guy can run anything on the planet that's video related with ease. Kevin Ring, as well, is like second to that. He can also run anything media server, screen switcher, and anything below that. He's a plethora of knowledge. Then you have Murdoch, who started the academy, so it's an honor to be working with him here, all the time, because I get to pick his brain. Completely different guy than I thought he'd be full time, which is awesome. But to be with the guy that started this program and to hear from him that, I'm doing good for it is always good to hear. And then he can run E2 like nobody's business. He's been there since day one from the launch of it. He's one of our head trainers for the E2. George Ray is the LED. I mean, I will say this, he's like the world's best LED guy. He knows manufacturers personally. He's got contacts personally. He can send you things in and out. He does things with walls and knows about, down to the hardware. How the capacitors are arranged in rows and how that affects what's really happening. The micro blocks for an LED. You want to know anything about LED, George is the guy to talk to. He can go down a rabbit hole as far down as the manufacturer to who's making it, in what location, and how they're processing it. This guy is a plethora of knowledge. And Joaquin here is our newest trainer. He's actually been with us about a year right now. He's doing a lot of our media server stuff. Joaquin has a plethora of knowledge on the projector side, on the media server side. He's done amazing stuff already in the background. He's right at the edge right now to get like 4 certifications to be trained a trainer on. We've been working on that for about a year now, but he's done resin classes with huge success. He's a badass projectionist. He's a badass media server operator, screen switcher operator. The guy just, came out of nowhere for me. He's been an awesome dude. He's great at what he does. And we really wanted to make sure that we had the team in place, right, to do this. So right now we're doing about 6 classes a month between Vegas, Orlando, and Dallas. And the good thing about this team in particular with Evolve is that my guys aren't just trainers. They're also the leads for the company globally. So you have a question about LED, George is the guy you're going to end up calling at some point and talking to, and he's going to tell you whatever it is you want to dive into, right? You got media server questions. You want to know something about our custom media servers here, or Watch Out, or Reslim, or Dataton, or Disguise Pixera. You can call Joaquin or Kevin, and they will answer you and go down whatever rabbit hole you want. However big the show is, they can get you the answer. You want to know about cameras, switchers, shading. You talk to me. You talk to Eli. You talk to my crew. Get you anywhere you want. You want to know about E2. You want to nitty gritty about E2. You call Murdoch. Like, you're gonna call guys that are in the field day in and day out. They're not just trainers. They are full time, engaged with the community, engaged in manufacturers, engaged in talking. They're solving problems for the company. You calling support, you're calling one of us. And that's, I think, the biggest difference here is that my guys aren't just teachers. They're not stuck in a classroom. We're not reading you a verbatim, set a year ago PowerPoint with directions. No, certifications are updated every year by the manufacturer. We update ourselves. We get retrained every 2 years. The team that's here is in the field with you guys, constantly working on stuff, solving problems, learning new things, learning your pain points, and then we're bringing them back to the classroom, and we're doing it here. So what Evolve does for that is beyond measurable, and it's an amazing part of the company, but it's also part of that trifecta we have, right? So rent, buy, learn here. I want to say the biggest thing about what we do here that's I want to say, I don't want to say different, but it is unique to what we do, is that unlike a traditional type of academy, essentially, my guys aren't just trainers. Like I said, they are in the field with you guys. They have experience, they have hands-on, and they haven't stopped. They're still getting experience. They're still getting hands-on. They're still doing things. And the company just sees the value in that. Evolve Technology, under Tyler Mann's leadership, and now Husky, who's in charge, they see the value in this, and they put their mouth behind money behind their mouth all the time. They will go above and beyond for our guys. They will get them the training they need. Just to give you an example, we have a couple clients in California. All of our guys, company paid for this, no questions asked, got OSHA 10 and 40 certified. We paid for the whole thing. Took our guys about 6 months in total to get it all done. This is just things we do in the background. We have a forklift operator in-house as well. I'm the forklift trainer. All of our guys in the entire company are forklift certified. They can run it. They can train on it. They can do what needs to get done. The company not only invests in the community that we serve, but also in the employees. And it's something that I really value here. And it's why I chose to come here. And one of the primary reasons I chose to come here was that, like, I've never had a conversation with Tyler or Husky now because Tyler passed, but I've never had a conversation where I've been disappointed about the outcome. I've understood the business side of things sometimes. And yes, maybe it doesn't go to my favor for the academy, but business-wise, it makes total sense, right? And in my 14 years in this industry, right, in growing AV Educate, that is something I don't see very often, especially when the academy side, there is so much that is lost from this. To give people some realization of the academy here, any class that we do for you guys at any price point right now, unless it was $2,000 a person, that piece of gear, that one piece of gear would make more money on a rental than it would in any class. We are constantly in the negative for classes, right? But we do a lot of them because we know the community needs this. and we're passionate about doing that for the community. So I hate when guys make it about the money all the time, because the company loses tons to make it happen for you. And we are encouraging it, and we're still pushing for it very, very hard. And we're still doing a lot, and we're trying to push every day to do more and more and more at a loss, because the company knows that the industry as a whole needs this. And one of the major things that we've been trying to do here in the long run, which is on the agenda always, and it's always talked about, and we're always trying to figure out how to get there. We would love to see, myself included in this, which is another reason I wanted to be on board. I would love for AV in general, the corporate AV industry, to not be I stumbled onto this field. To be, hey, I went to high school, right. I went to college because I wanted to do corporate AV. I want this to be an industry that people want to come into. Not, I had a buddy and I did this and I stumbled onto it and I found out about this career path.
Which is the traditional path, right?
It's the traditional path.
They came out of playing music, they came out of the theater, and they kind of landed here.
Which is cool, and I'm not against that. Listen, I have an advantage. Like I said, my father was here, so I knew about this, and I literally, I've been living my dream, right? I joined the military because I want to join the military. I joined the industry because I want to join the industry. I knew what I wanted to do, and I fought for it, and I got there. But a lot of people, like you said, they fall into this industry because they have no idea about it. And I Evolve and myself, we want to change that. We want this to be a main staple thing, and it's why we have badass marketing team who makes amazing AV content. We have amazing Evolve and Academy content we make out, right? We have great classes, great spaces. Like, we are doing a lot, and we partner with a lot of our companies and partners to make this happen.
No, you guys are doing a great job at Evolve. And, again, as someone who puts on some training, and the whole thing is free and it's 3 days, and, and there's food, like, it costs a lot of money. I don't know what to say, but the idea is that we're trying to, to build a future, and we're trying to build people around it. And, and it's really worked out, very cool. And I just had someone last week, a friend of mine, she sings in this band, and I see them all the time. And her daughter just graduated from an audio school. And the funny thing is I knew her daughter sang because we did her high school graduation, and I had it on video, and they announced her name singing the national anthem. So I'm like, oh no, I have you on video. Like, I literally sent her over the clip. I'm like, yeah, I got the whole thing for you. But now she's interested in this kind of community and world. And I think it's really exciting, that there are these opportunities, because once people come into it, they very rarely leave. I mean, it is true that it's an exciting
that's
pretty cool.
There's an interesting scenario happening in this industry. In the last 3 years, let's say post-pandemic, I've met more and more second generation AV stagehands than when I started. I'm second generation because my father does this, my brother does this, my older brother, my uncle does this, like, my family does this. It is interesting when I go on show sites and I meet, like, somebody's kid from someone's dad I used to work with back in the day. It's like, oh, you're second. Oh, I know your dad. What's up? It's like, I'm not that much older than you, but I know your dad.
I wish I had this clip. We had this clip from a show we just did. It was like an investor show, and there's a younger gentleman that's working with us now, but we really just started with him, and he's going to be on with us for the spring season full time, and he's a great guy.
Nice.
But we know we work with his father for, I don't know, 20 years. His father's an expert, true rock star. Mm-hmm. But he's standing there on stage. We just happened to have the camera it was just rolling to make sure it was testing. So it's this B-roll clip where he says, oh, and by the way, he's talking to the audio engineer. He goes, oh, by the way, my father says hi. He's like, who's your father? And he tells him, he goes, I got to sit down. And he grabs a chair. It's the funniest clip. We just happen to have the cameras rolling too.
That's awesome.
We showed it during our holiday party because it's just so friggin' funny. But no, you're right about that. And that's a great thing. And we have a lot of different people who have had family involved. And that's kind of how I got involved in here too, was through my old father-in-law. And he's like, you probably really like this. And, he introduced me to people. And so it's really great.
You're like, I move.
Yeah, and then here I am, but before I move on to AV Educate, do you have any upcoming Evolve programs or training on the schedule right now that you want to mention?
Yeah, so right now we have an upcoming class for, we call it our camera intensive class. So camera operator, camera switcher, camera shader. It's a 3-day class. You can buy them independently right now. It'll be out in Dallas. We have another couple of classes coming out. If you're interested in Pixera right now, we have a Pixera class coming up. We also have a Aqualung class at the end of the month coming up as well this month, and we have an E2 class coming up. E2 might be sold out already though. Don't quote me on that. But we have an E2 class coming up as well. And then if you just go to our webpage, we have a calendar that's been updated. Oh, Ryan, hey, what's up, Ryan? We have a calendar that's been updated.
He can't keep away, Omar. He can't keep away.
We have a calendar that gets updated all the time at the Evolve Academy site. If you guys want to check out that calendar, it'll give you updates for what we're doing. We generally try to post between 2 or 3 months in advance. And I have the whole year planned out, but 2 or 3 months in advance, just because if anything changes on the business side for rentals or selling, I have some flexibility on that. But right now, so those are some of the classes that are kind of big winners right now. So the Aqualung's coming out. Again, like I said, end of the month. Then after that is Texas is Aqualung's in Vegas. Texas is camera intensive course. And then we have a E2 and a Pixar class coming up too. Third week of the month.
Well, I posted the link into the various different chats, and look at all these comments we got. Ryan was co-host, but now he's been replaced. I don't know what to say, but but he's QCing his show. Of course, he still changes all the graphics all the time, so that's pretty funny. But I put the link there so everybody can check out and see what classes are upcoming at Evolve Academy. And
I'll add real quick too. If you guys go to our page, all those classes that you see, if we're not offering a time frame that works for you, we also do custom classes. So if you want to do a class and you get 4 people together, so you plus 3 essentially, we will work with you in that group on a date that works for that group to do a custom class for any one of our classes.
That's really cool.
And and the prices change depending on whether you want certifications or not. So, reach out to me. We could talk about that. But any one of those classes you see, if there's a date on there that you don't see, or you want to do something customized, like, hey, I want to send my team, or if you're a bunch of freelancers who want to get together as a team together, let me know. As long as I have 4 people, I can spin up a class between Vegas and Orlando. Sometimes I can do Dallas as well for that conversation. But for any of those classes you see on there, that if you don't see a date that works for you, by all means, get a team together, get 4 of you. That's all I need to spin up a class, and we will gladly make a custom one on days to work for you guys.
Very cool. That is really cool. So everybody check out, Evolve Academy and the links. Hey, listen, let's turn our discussions to AV Educate.
Got it.
Which, of course, you're the founder of AV Educate, and I think you have a lot of really great things going on with that as well. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about AV Educate?
So AV Educate started 5 years ago. Actually, we just got to our 6-year mark. We are at the final home stretch to getting our nonprofit status. I think the last time we talked about it was here with you a year ago. Yeah. We are now in the final steps of that. We just wrote back end of the month of last month. We wrote back to the IRS with the final documentation signed, printed by the lawyers, out the door. So we're waiting to hear back from them to say everything's good to go now, and we will be in a full-fledged nonprofit. Just proving more to myself and the community that this is a labor of love for you guys, and I'm trying to do my best to fund it and pay for it and get you guys what you need, right? But the cool thing is, or the hardest thing was always that AV Educate, I want it to decentralize a little bit, right? I want to be able to come to corporate AV, for example, or to do the Pirate University, right? Without question, without an overhead board saying, oh, you can't do it because it's not part of it. No, AV Educate is a resource for the community, and we want to partner with everybody to make this possible to get training on whatever it is. But as Joe, as you know, gear is very, very expensive. So training does not make a lot of money. It makes something, but not enough to cover gear all the time. So we have partnership people we do with AV Educate. We have partnerships we do with corporations, and we have partnerships with manufacturers. And what's really cool is that because I'm at Evolve, essentially what ends up happening here is that I have access to video to do all kinds of video stuff, which is great. But we are a high-end video company, right? So what Evolve stops, right?
It is high-end.
Picks up, right? We pick up on AV Educate. So audio and lighting, I still want to train people on that. I want to know more about it too. So I got to train on that. So it allows me to continue that model that we do here with AV Educate and train on audio, train on IT, train on lighting, train on leadership stuff, train on not only the hard skills, but some of the soft skills. So if anybody's been following AV Educate on the group's about 6,000 members. On the page is about 3,000 members. We do a partnership with GDM right now, the Growth and Development Network. That partnership specifically is about the soft skills. Scott Monroe is very, very good at the soft skills, and I want people to understand that. And he's done shows where people can see, hey, if you have these skills that we're looking for, these are how shows can run, right? You can have all these tech skills, but if you're just a guy on show site, you're not gonna get the call back. I don't care how good you are, you're not getting a call back.
Those
But
soft
if you
skills
have,
go an awful long way.
yeah, 100%. And the thing is, it opens the doors to other opportunities outside of your specific skill set. And that's really what we try to drive home there. So that's been a good partnership for us because I'm able to now we do it called lunch and learns. And those are opportunities to talk about, again, the things that don't fit into Evolve, but don't fit into AV Educate because they're not skills based, they're not hard skills. These are soft skills. So lunch and learns cover that, right? And we can talk about branding. We can talk about business stuff. We can talk about how to deal with clients, how to deal with other coworkers, how to deal with setting yourself up properly for billing, how to do billing properly. Like these other soft skills you need to have, not just on the business side, but also on the personal side between you and your actions, right? Those are very, very important. And that's the avenue we've chosen to expand on that. And hopefully in time we'll work better. And we are working on some online content for the community so that we can outreach more. But what's been working really effectively is the in-person classes. And the in-person classes, we have partnerships with our partners to work on the labor side of things, right? We get gear, we get facility, they get names, and they get stuff, and that's how that kind of works out for now. But AV Educate is again that missing link was what I felt for the community, right? We are specific to corporate, but we also do touring, we also do theater, and it's not me who does it. I have contacts for that, right? So I'll give you an example. Kenny Barnell does a lot of stuff on the touring side. He's a great contact of ours, right? You guys want to learn more about that? Cool. Let's talk to Kenny, get him on board, do X, Y, Z. You want to learn about subliner? You want to learn in-depth stuff about subliner? Let's talk to Nathan Lively, right? That's been his whole career. Let's talk to him about that, right? Like we're a resource for all these other avenues. You want to learn audio online only because you're not used to doing in-person stuff. Maybe you're shy or you're not comfortable with that stuff. Go to Sync Audio Column, Brenda Brown. They have an amazing online program. It's very cost effective. The instructor and the content they make is amazing, right? Go to that. You guys want to do something once a year, or you're in your area, right? Go to Corporate AV or Pirate University, right? You guys have that every year, once a year. Check it out. These guys have great stuff going on there, and it's available to you. All you have to do is show up, sign up, and show up, right? So, AV
Pretty low barrier to entry.
Yeah, well, not a little barrier, but it's like you guys also want to give back, so we want to make sure we're promoting that because you have the same drive we do, and you're in a different market than we are.
Absolutely,
which is not an issue, right? It's more like when I started this, it was like everybody was in their silos, everybody's in their own thing, no one's talking to each other. When I started AV Educate, I said, I don't care about any of that stuff. I want to share everything that's out there. I don't care if it competes with me or not, because the reality is I want this to be a resource for people to come to learn from us. And if we're not close enough to them or they don't have what they want, somebody's going to do it. Let's share about that so that the community understands what we are driving for, right? It's like, yes, we have overhead to cover, and we cover that the best we can what we do, but we want to promote other things because we are not the end all shop, right? Like I don't do virtual production, I don't do on-reel training, but there are guys that do that and they do it really, really well.
Right.
Here you go. You should know about them. If that's what you want to do, go.
Cool. Hey, it looks like you have a class this week.
I do.
Going on.
I have your team is on point with all the research here. So I have a GAV class on Friday. So general audio video. This is a kind of a breakout level class. So think about stagehand all the way to breakout level. This is about, if you want to think about the way I do things here, AV Educate is a stepping stone, right, for all the advanced stuff. So if you're looking for that a little bit of lower tier, kind of easier to get into because you're a stagehand right now, maybe you're making 250 to 350. These classes are a little bit of lower tier to get you in the door. And this class teaches you very fundamentals, though, on cables, on video, on audio, and lighting. Essentially, though, we will be building a breakout room. So from the truck to a room, to build it out, pipe and drape, laptop, projector, switcher, laptop and playback. So graphics and playback, switcher, audio console, very basic, 2 channels right now, 2 speakers, set them up. We'll talk about unity gain. We'll talk about speaker placement. We'll talk about switcher resolutions a little bit. We'll also work on projectors. We'll touch a little bit on Keystone and give you guys some hands-on for that. Everything is hands-on, by the way. This entire class is hands-on. There's no PowerPoint.
It's great.
I walk you through everything you do here. We set up a screen. We talk about screen stuff. And then at the end of this, once everything is set up, right, and once you've done your corners properly and you've taped things down properly, we also put you through the drills. So everybody gets a 5-minute drill in different scenarios. And I will give this out here if you're watching this or you're going to that class. I will tell you here, every drill that I have is meant for you to fail so that you can learn from it. Not to make you fail, to make you feel like an asshole, but I want you to learn. And we will throw you in scenarios where you will be having to set something up. You have to figure out what the problem is, solve the problem while you're dealing with a client. And each one of those scenarios will be different in how you deal with that client. We'll also be going over an RF situation with miking up females. A lot of the males, unfortunately, do not get proper training on this. And you guys, Unfortunately, you're not going to get it unless someone like me does it for you. But there are ways and things you need to notice. And a lot of guys have an alpha male mentality. Oh, I'm doing my job, no big deal. And you guys are unaware of people's body language, and you need to become aware of that. If you were to do a show in Miami where there's Orthodox Jews, Orthodox Muslims, there's very cultural norms that you need to be aware of that if you're not aware of, you will get replaced instantly, no questions asked, for doing the wrong thing. The problem with that for me as a trainer is that you're never going to learn what happened. You're just going to tell, hey, you got to go. And you're not going to know what's going on. So we work on a little bit of how to be an A2 a little bit, and how to operate that, and little things you can do to be more aware of people's reactions and what their body language is saying. I know you have a job to do and you're just doing your job and you don't mean anything by it, but there are things you can do that you're probably not even aware of that you're doing that can be uncomfortable. So we talk about that a little bit. We do a little bit on lighting as well. We do a pipe and bass or truss and lighting, depending on what the client has for us that day. For this particular center, we're doing truss and bases with the 2 Leco lights. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about power a little bit, teach you a little bit about some basic power stuff, and then do some barn dorms as well, and how to get a sheen shot. And you'll have to talk to the microphone, confirm signal from the microphone, confirm signal from a PCDI box, and also confirm signal from a wireless router. And every time we do that drill, we make it a little more fun, right? So every time we do that drill, the student previously before you gets to mess up everything, and you have to figure out how to solve that while dealing with a client who could be stressed, who could have a last-minute PowerPoint change, who could be in the wrong room, who could be just asking questions, and you have to be able to solve the problem within a time frame and make the client feel at ease, because that's part of your test. And that's, again, to give you that closest to hands-on experience and get you in the hot seat, so you learn, hey, even though I just taught you everything you need to know to do this position, until you're in the hot seat, you're still not going to know this, because the pressure is there. You're going to start forgetting stuff. So we do this all hands-on. We do it all walkthrough. We give you all examples. Smart. And we put you in the seat so you have an experience of that. And then we strike it all. We put it away and put it back on the truck.
Perfect. There you go. Well, if anybody's got a chance this Friday, of course, in Lakeland, Florida, General Audio Visual 101. There you go, 9 to 5. Very good. I actually I put the links in there so that anybody can see the different classes going on at AV Educate, because I think you have a lot of interesting things. You know, I saw this other one about helping people with their money. Oh,
yeah.
You're all in it. I mean, I think that's great.
Yeah. I love this class. Really cool. So if you guys don't know Joe Martin, oh man, how do I say this? If you don't know Joe Martin, or if you know me, let's say that. If you know me and you think I'm a nice guy, Joe makes you look like an asshole. Joe is such a nice guy. He is that nice guy. I promise you. He is such a nice person. He's an amazing individual. I have tons of respect for Joe. Joe is the nicest guy I've ever met in my life. I always feel like I'm not good enough around him. That's how good of a person he is. So cool. To give you to go into that. So Joe's doing this class for free. He's volunteering his time. The man does not need to do this class. He's the guy paying your checks for 40, 50 man calls. He's the guy that pays you out of his pocket. This man does not need to do this class. He's doing it for free every Friday for 8 weeks, this course. He's volunteering his time. Anybody who signs up this course, he's volunteering trying to teach you on how to do finances through the program that's being offered. And he's willing to help people out as well, which to me is just like, dude, where do you find the time? You're constantly on show site. You're constantly doing things. And he will be, every time we've done on every Friday, I flew home just to do this to be here for you guys. Or I'm XYZ. I'll be right on today. And he in between, and again,
that's really cool.
It's all automated. Joe in between emails us and asks, where are you guys at? How you doing? How can I help? What information do you have? Did you think of anything to ask me? Yeah, he's an amazing individual. I have tons of respect for Joe. But again, this brainchild was from Joe and me talking in Vegas a little bit ago. We had a conversation about money, and the freelancers needing help understanding it and getting better at it. And we wanted to make it specific towards the AV industry and how we do things here. So we put this together. Joe put it together. We put it together. My fear doing this was that I'm not an accountant. I'm not a CPA. Everybody has their own scenario. I have, just like you, Joe, we have a lot of information about how to do things because we've messed up, I'm sure. And we know what works within our scenario. Everybody's a different scenario, so it's very hard to fine tune that information. Right, but Joe has a deep patience and background in understanding all that stuff. So he volunteered to do it.
Pretty great.
I said, yeah, let's make it happen. We promoted it. Me and Jessica Jarvis promoted it. She's our marketing communication specialist. We're working on that. She also does a lot of the background stuff for me as far as the events goes. So if you guys see verbiage that is very, very clean and clear and concise, that's probably Jessica.
I believe that. Yeah. Well, this has been amazing. I got another comment here that I see Marissa put up, but about how you're leveraging audiovisual tools and promoting active learning, and I think that's pretty amazing. So people are noticing it. They're noticing it, and you're doing a lot of great things.
Trying.
I don't want to tie you up too much because I know you have both Evolve and you have stuff for AV Educate. You're probably working on at the same time. But I'm going to put, like I said, the links are in there so that everybody can check out the different classes that are offered either at AV Educate or Evolve Academy. And both are really amazing. Certainly good luck with everything this Friday in Lakeland, Florida. And, I fully expect that at some point there might be an AV Educate class here in New York,
Definitely.
And you have a host ready and willing. So,
well, we talked about I owe you, right? I got to come up for the next Pirate University. I said next time you guys do one because Ed showed up twice, and I got to be like Ed.
Ed has showed up twice. Yeah, I mean, and Ed put a lot of effort in. And funny thing was, one of the times we had like this tremendous storm, so I'm glad he showed up in person because otherwise it would have been a real mess. But no, Ed's been tremendous, and
I got to show.
I just think the community that formed during the pandemic with AV Educate was really special. The way it all happened, nobody knew what to do, and everybody really came together. And I don't know if it existed like that prior. Certainly not in the same capacity,
Maybe differently, or maybe just the generation, right? Maybe our generation just decided this because of the situation.
Yeah, but it was a really, really interesting response and how everybody's working together. And, and we still have lots of people that we work with on a remote basis, just like that. And other people, when we're doing our travel shows around, that we've connected with because of that time period. And it's pretty amazing, So there's a real community. And I think you should take a lot of pride in all the impact you've had in being a part of that through education. So
thank you.
But listen, Omar, I got to actually go to work. I got a site survey in a little bit, so I'm going to get moving. But listen, thank you again for all of your time and all of your efforts. And let's see if we can arrange a general AV class up here. Let's get some people working.
We'll be in talks then.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, hey, listen, thank you, Omar. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Joe. Appreciate it.
Okay. Well, listen, everybody. I mean, you just heard from really one of the top educational people in the AV industry. I mean, Omar's put everything into training, and he's actively involved all the time trying to help others. And that's pretty impressive just by itself. But listen, let's wrap this show up. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube every Wednesday, 1 p.m. While you're there, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And just like Marissa and Will and some of the others, drop us a comment, be a part of the show. And if you get a chance or you missed part of it, go back and check this program out, just like any of the other 103 other episodes on our YouTube channel. But listen, thank you again, everybody. Just a couple of brief reminders, aveducate.com. Go take a look at the classes that are coming up, and evolveacademy.live. Okay. So listen, thank you again, everybody. Let's see if I can find the right button. It's my time. Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao.